Are we good? Are we live? We're on? We're on! Good morning! Good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, which nobody is because there's nobody watching.
Opening up, don't worry.
People here in the office are actually saying they're opening the window to watch, which I don't know why, because they're standing right here, or sitting. So good morning. Thanks for joining us for the, I don't know. I'm just here. Thanks for joining us for our weekly Wednesday live stream from the, a heart. Who did that? Somebody gave us a heart. Thank you very much for the heart. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining us again for the Wednesday morning live stream. My name is Mark. I'll be your catalog enthusiast thing. Good afternoon, honey. All right. With a big kiss. Hi, Sarah. I don't know who you are, but I'm already in love with you. So have a great day. We're going to show you some rings today, continuing with our cataloging of all of our products. There's no specific order of what we're doing today, but before we get to the rings, just a couple things, couple housekeeping things. Of course, if you place an order today during the live stream, you'll get your 10% discount off regularly priced items. If you share the video, don't forget, we'll send you one of these beautiful polishing cloths, right? Which somebody told me I never opened with this thing. You know, it's just, so this is the envelope and this is the cloth when it comes in. It's just, you know, that green chamois material that's infused with a chemical that helps unbind cupric oxides. That's copper and oxygen, which I don't know. I mean, I feel like most people are aware, but maybe not. There's some chemistry. Sterling silver, right, is an alloy of silver and copper. That we see that 925. That means 92.5% is silver. The other 7.5% is copper. Oh crap! You know, I forgot to turn on that light again. Sorry, I'm gonna be brighter. Oh, I guess not much brighter, but hi. The other 7.5% is usually copper. Copper loves oxygen. Oxygen binds very easily with copper and creates cupric oxide, which is tarnish. These polishing cloths have a chemical that help unbind the copper and the oxygen, and so when you polish it, you're removing that cupric oxide from the surface. It's not an abrasive. That also works. You know, abrasive cleaners work by actually abrading the surface and removing some of the surface material to get to the untarnished pieces of silver. These work a little bit differently, and you should never wash them. Just keep working with this thing until it's completely black, and then throw it away and buy a new one. Because even if you did buy one and you didn't get one free by sharing the video, they're only like $3 or something, $2 or $3. I think they're $2.50. I forget. They're really inexpensive, and every good jeweler should have one or many. I know we have a bunch here that I always use for different things. If you have any questions about anything jewelry related, you know, please throw it up on the screen. You know, I'm here. I'm your jewelry expert, product specialist, I think is the title I gave myself. Say what?
We have one share.
One share. Yay. Thank you. We'll figure out who that is and we'll send you one of those cloths. Let me talk a little bit very quickly about the state of shipping. It's getting bad again, especially back east. You know, we're on the west coast, Vancouver, west coast of Canada, I should say, west coast of the continental North America, and shipping into the east is, there are some delays, it seems, especially once you get, you know, past Manitoba towards Ontario, Quebec. You know, they're kind of semi-lockdowns again, and there's all weirdness, so things are taking a little bit longer to get there. And into Europe, it seems like some countries are good, some countries are bad. Don't get me started on France again, because they're my least favorite country to ship to. I'm at the point where in our Etsy store, I'm about to say, look, we don't ship to France. or if we ship to France, we make no guarantees about when you're going to get your stuff, because we're looking at like 5 weeks or something. It's long, but you know, we do what we can. It's the middle of a still really the middle of a global pandemic. You know, we'll get through it. It'll all be good. What else? Custom work. We're still doing lots of custom. We have a couple of very cool things happening on that front. We oh, look, let me do this. Oh, I don't know if you can you see this? Where's my finger here? This little orange thing there with the big, you know, thing. That's our fabulously expensive 3D printer that we just got. This prints in a castable resin that we're using to, you know, when we get the 3D models, we'll print them on that so we can have a prototype of your, you know, your thing to make sure stones fit or whatever. We also have a 3D scanner coming in probably next week to scan stones, so that when we do the custom work, if we have a, you know, your stone here, we can scan it and send that through so they can use that. So we know that everything is going to fit perfectly, you know. It's kind of an issue with cut stones, not so much with diamonds. We've been having discussions about this for the past couple of weeks, about how some people, with today's climate and issues going on in the world, waiting for quality. Oh, I started reading that, and then Nelson, thanks. Hold on. With today's climate and issues going on in the world, waiting for a quality product, waiting times should not be an issue. That's right, Sarah. Waiting for quality product should never be an issue. And if nothing else, I can honestly say, and I know this might seem, you know, kind of self-serving, you know, but the quality of the product is never the issue, really. My issue is that we do the custom stuff way too cheaply. I keep telling Marble that we need to raise the price of the custom stuff, but he's very firm about, you know, let's take over the market first. So that's our master plan. Yeah. So custom stuff is great. It's going a thing. You know, they're back up to speed pretty much at the factory. I think the backlog that we had from the New Year, the Lunar New Year, and the, you know, how they closed for a month pretty much. I think all that backlog is pretty much started to break through, and now we're getting, you know, we're back up to speed, I think. Yeah. So let's move back into, I feel like there was something else that I wanted to mention, but I didn't write it down, but whatever, we'll just move on. Okay, let me start our first item. Is MTR 113 with a retail price of $15 and a wholesale price of $10.34. This is for a 7x9 millimeter oval, and this is just a lovely classic mirror image, sort of swirls, swoops, I guess, flourishes on the sides. Obviously, it's designed for a cut stone. If you have a cabochon that is pretty low dome, you could probably get that fit in there, although definitely cut stones is what that's designed for. Yeah, nothing really else to say about that, other than it's cute. MTR 534 with a retail price of $28.43 and a wholesale price of $17.77. This is for an 8x10 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. And look at this beauty, right? Nice deep basket, right? So just about anything but the craziest cut stones will fit in there. The prongs are pretty good size, so you can definitely put a cab in there. Obviously, if it's a really, really tall cab, it might sit really super high on your finger, so it might be weird. But yeah, everything will work. I love these. I'm a big fan of this hybrid seat that, you know, we've designed. So you could put a cab in there, you could put a cut stone in there. Anything will work in those things. Yeah. It's got that halo of cubic zirconias around the seat, and that sort of intertwined, looks like wire, coming up from the basket. Very cool ring, very versatile, and super blingy too, I think. MTR, oops, that's upside down. MTR 424 with a retail price of $12.08 and a wholesale price of $8.06. This is for a 6x8 millimeter oval. Again, kind of a simple mirror image, right, with the flourishes on the sides and the two little dots there. Those aren't cubic zirconias. I don't know if you can see that in the thing, but they're just dots. The seat designed for a cut stone, although you could definitely put a cab in there as long as it's not super tall. And really the problem with super tall cabs isn't much of a problem. It's just that the if the prongs aren't tall enough to go past the perimeter or to be able to be pulled inside the perimeter of the stone, you're going to have issues with the stone not sitting right, if that makes sense, or not being secure. It'll be able to just slip right out. Anyway, our next item, MTR 269 with a retail price of $24.76 and a wholesale price of $15.89. This is for a 10x12 millimeter oval, and this has a nice deep basket, right? So cut stones fit in there beautifully. You've got that very cool hybrid seat, and the prongs are nice and tall, so you could put cut stones, cabochons in there. Even tall cabs will fit in there. The thing with this kind of a basket though and cabochons is that I always feel like it's weird that there's nothing here to look at. I realize that when it's on your finger, it's nobody's looking at down the side of your basket of your ring, or if there are in that kind of a position, they're probably not looking at your ring anyway. Anyway, neither here nor there. But very cool. Not really a split shank, but a open shank with the little teardrop shapes there on the side. Very cool. I'm a fan. MTR 288 with a retail price of $18.51 and a wholesale price of $11.57. This is for a 5x7 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. Very elegant, kind of classic flourishes on the side. Sort of a split shank with a trio of cubic zirconias up there against the inside of the band, or at the end of the band there, right where they meet the seat of the stone. And just lovely. Our next one, I think this is bent. MTR 130 with a retail price of $19.93 and a wholesale price of $12.46. This is for an 8x10 millimeter oval. It is. Look at this prong. Oh boy. Let me bend that out. Right, so nice, pretty good sized prongs. Not super tall prongs, but a good sized prong for cabochons. There's not a super deep basket, so cut stones will work in here as long as the pavilion is not giant. And I love this split shank that crosses over each other, right, to create that look of continuity, how it continues all the way through the piece. Very simple, very classic, very elegant. Let me see, what other words can I think of that are I can use for every ring? Classic, elegant, postmodern. MTR 377. I'm just making stuff up now. Retail price $18.51 and the wholesale price of $13. This is for a 6x8 millimeter oval. Here's a parts on the side, right, where the shank meets the basket. Kind of a standard basket with that hybrid seat. So cabochons or cut stones, anything will fit in there. Very gorgeous, very cute. What were the other words? I missed them. Elegant. MTR 041 with a retail price of $21.79 and a wholesale price of $16.46. This is another 8x10 millimeter oval. Now the seat ostensibly is one of those hybrid seats, but it doesn't have that bevel on the inside. It's flat on the inside. So probably cabochons will work better in this ring than cut stones would, as long as they don't have a super tall edge geometry on the cabochon. But yeah, God, pretty much every cab will fit. I haven't seen many cabs that are taller than that. Well, no, that's true. I have seen some. I don't know about how many. Classy, that's a good one. Yeah, the lovely split shank with a very classy connection there with that thing. Just, I don't know, cute little thing. I like that. It's not really a halo, but I call it a halo. You know, that frame around the outside of the seat, so that when the stone is sitting there, this looks like it borders the stone, and the stone is kind of floating, right? Because the seat and the frame are only connected where the prongs are, right? So I don't know. I like it. It is indeed very classy. Oh boy. There should be a contest. What are the best words we could use to describe these things? MTR 545 with a retail price of $19.70 and a wholesale price of $12.31. This is for a 7x8 millimeter oval, which might sound like a weird size, but you could probably get by. No, I don't want to say that. Maybe a 7x9 might fit, depending on the curvature of the oval. You know, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I love these sort of diamond, you know, looks, or chevrons, if you want to call them, with the cubic zirconias gypsy set in there, or flush mount, however you want to call it. People call that kind of setting different names. When I learned it as flush mount, and it's a real, it's kind of a pain to do that setting, but not super hard once you get used to it. Nice deep basket, so cabochons, cut stones, boy, anything would fit in there and look great in there. I love that how that you know, gets wider up at the top, sort of thing. Andrea, hey Andrea. I feel like I see your name like every day when I look at the live chat streams. I know you talk mostly with Marble when you do those things, but we all get to read them. So MTR 170 with a retail price of $37.52 and a wholesale price of $28.36. This is for a pair of 6x, and this is rare. We don't have many rings that are for multiple stones. We got a couple, like 3 or 4. But this is a cool one. I honestly don't think I've ever set stones in these ones. But the seats are, or the prongs are right up against the edges, and these are bent. This is from years of sitting in the tray and having other trays stacked on top of them when we do shows, and the prongs get bent. But the prongs are really close up to the edges of those things. So you could definitely get a bit. It would be great for sea glass. Yeah. You know, cut stones definitely, because look how deep that basket would be, you know, or theoretically what you would call a basket. And cabs absolutely would fit in there, as long as they're not too small, then it would fall right through. But there's a little gap, probably, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter or so between the edge of the prong and that hole, that empty. You should never be sorry for needing us every day. We love you guys. Anyway, MTR 428 with a retail price of $22.09 and a wholesale price of $13.26 is for a 7x9 oval. And this one I've said a whole bunch of things to say, because this is just super, really, really gorgeous, kind of faux filigree, you know, that sort of open weave thing with all these very funky shapes, very cool things. Not quite elegant, a little more whimsical than elegant, but it has that faux elegance. You know, like if you look at it quickly, it looks like it's very, very, you know, elegant. But I just love this crazy lace kind of look to that open weave work. Ultimately, it creates a nice deep basket, so cabochons or cut stones will work in here beautifully. And yeah, this is just a Gorgeous ring. Love that. Here's one for all you people who are doing that commemorative jewelry or commemoration jewelry or whatever. MTR 185 with a retail price of $22.37 and a wholesale price of $15.80. This is for ostensibly an 8x8 cabochon. It would have to be a curvilinear cab with... That's just a fancy name for, you know, a polygon with curved sides. You just put the word curvilinear in front of anything. Curvilinear triangle, and it's a triangle with curved sides. It just sounds very cool. It gives you instant credibility. So this, obviously, you can, if you're a lapidary, you can cut the stones to fit exactly in here. Whenever you see a setting with all these, this texture in the bottom with all these little indentations, that is, you know, pretty specifically for gluing the stones in there. Having said that, when you have these kind of cloisons, you know, or I guess bezel, probably is a better word for it. To me, this screams, you know, that fill this with epoxy resin, you know, mixed with, you know, dehydrated breast milk powder, or the ashes of a dead relative, or the hair of your favorite perished pooch or your cat or whatever. I don't know, whatever. So many people are doing crazy things with that commemorative jewelry, commemoration jewelry, whatever it is. You know what I mean, or maybe you don't. Maybe it's the first time you're hearing about this. There are tons of people who are making jewelry with that kind of stuff, with breast milk and ashes from, you know, cremation ashes and things, and they mix it with, you know, epoxy, maybe some crushed stones or some different colored powders or things. There's even some glow-in-the-dark ones that are very, very cool. Anyway, neither here. And then you could just fill that up like that with, you know, if you, you know, you set this up in a third hand or something, and you just fill that up, you could fill these things, and surface tension on that epoxy resin is much higher than it is on water. So you could definitely slightly overfill this and have a bulge in the top of it that doesn't spill over very easily. And then you could, you know, once it cures, it would look just like a stone in there. Anyway, tons of people doing that. And this is an awesome ring for that kind of thing. This, we also have another triangular one that is not in this tray. I think I did it last week or 2 weeks ago. MTR 417 with a retail price of $11.50 and a wholesale price of $7.67. This is for a 6x7 millimeter oval. I don't know what else to say about this. It's just got that classy flourishes there at the end of the split shank, where that's, you know, really almost fleur-de-lis, you know, very I don't know, elegant. It's the kind of word, that first word that pops to my mind. And MTR 272B, like boy, which means there must be an MTR 272 around somewhere that's a different size. 2307 is the retail price, and $14.80 is a wholesale price. This is for a 10 by 11 millimeter oval cab or cut stone, right? Super tall prongs, so just about anything could fit in there. A cabochon fit in there. As a cut stone, and it's a pretty deep basket too, so it would have to be a really, really wonky pavilion to be able to extend all the way into the finger space and make you cranky. Very cool triple split shank, right up to the basket. Very cool ring. I like that. And excuse the bent out prongs. Again, you know, when we travel to shows, we have these in trays that sit up, and we have other trays that stack on top of them. So sometimes the tray stacking on top bends the prongs like these. And I don't take the time to go through and make everything perfect before these live streams. I probably should. MTR 046 with a retail price of $16.50 and a wholesale price of $11.84. This is for a 5x7 millimeter oval. Again, it's a kind of a spiritual cousin to that other one that I was talking about before, right? The same idea with the frame that that's floating, right? that sort of halo around there. And one thing about these things, this has a nice deep basket, so cut stones, cabochons fit in there. It's probably that big wide seat though. That's definitely a cabochon seat. Thing about these, you just have to be careful when you're setting them, when you're pushing these down, because like I said before, the seat is only connected to the frame at the prongs, right? So there's 4 connections there, and so you just have to be able to support this from underneath as you're pushing this on, lest you actually, this wouldn't be bad. Actually, I'm looking at it, that would be pretty steady. Never mind my warnings, this would be great. It had just a very simple, very cool basket with that kind of cutaway look, and the split shank, or that vertical split shank. That's a new word, I'm going to make it up. It's a vertical split shank and a horizontal split shank surrounding that seat. Here's another really cool one. I don't have a good story about this, but I do have a story about this. MTR 155 with a retail price of $25.39 and a wholesale price of $17.78. This is for an 11 by 13 millimeter oval. It would have to be a cab. I couldn't imagine putting a cut stone in there because the depth of that basket, unless if it were a really shallow pavilion, you could get away with that, right? If it's too deep a pavilion, then the culet extends down into the finger space and scratches you every time you put your ring on. So ideally, cabochons, this has that texture for the cabochons to be glued in. I did set a stone in one of these rings. We were at a show, and I said, well, I couldn't really do it. Oh, it does look very regal. I love that, the shell motifs on the side. I said, well, I couldn't really do it because, this is meant to be glued in, and, we can't, and they, most of these two-part epoxies, you really want them to cure overnight, to be a thing, and we couldn't really do it at a show. And she was like, well, just push these things down onto it. I'm like, well, okay. And I did the best I could and push these things down, and it looked actually really great. I was surprised. It was a very, very cool thing, and it was surprisingly simple to push these down. I thought it was going to be super hard because they're pretty thick. But I don't know. I guess when you've been setting jewelry for a quarter of a century, it gets easier the more you do it. MTR 379 with a retail price of $15.13 and a wholesale price of $10.60. This is for a 7 millimeter heart-shaped stone. And that was one of the questions we got. How do you measure your hearts? Oh, the other one was pairs. We measure the hearts in 2 dimensions, one from the widest point of the curve here, and then also from the widest point of the top of the heart to the bottom of the point. In this case, there's only one dimension, 7 millimeters, so that means that both dimensions are the same. That if you had a 7 by 7 millimeter square, it would fit perfectly inside there, right? Anyway, this has got that chevron prong with the gouge, the notch cut into it there. So it would have to be a pointy. If it's a cut stone, right, which is what this basket is designed for. You could probably get away with the point, the bottom of the heart not being very, very pointy, very sharp, because a lot of the work is being done by the seat, right? The stone, won't move around in the seat because, the stone, goes down in there and holds it, and the prongs mostly are holding it in place against the seat. If it's a cabochon, you'd have to have a really pointy point at the bottom of this thing to fit inside the gouge, so that when you push this down, that locks it in place, against the other prongs, right? Because a cabochon, can easily slip off, sideways or out or shift if it's not pointy. If it gets caught inside that notch, everything is beautiful, right? Again, you don't have that issue with cut stones because the pavilion sits down inside that seat, and these hold it in place, and there's nowhere for the stone to go because, there's nowhere for it to go anyway. Is that too much science? I feel like there's maybe too much science in my explanations here. MTR 206 with a retail price of $18.08 and a wholesale price of $12.03. This is for a 7 by 9 millimeter oval. And this is just a boy. How do you call it? Super classic, very elegant, very cool, very standard, very normal, simple, elegant, classic. That hybrid seat, so a cabochon or a cutstone. I'd be wary of putting a cutstone in there that has a very deep pavilion. You just have to be careful of that. And you know, something about lapidaries who are cutting stones that are not super dark, they just like to cut the pavilions huge, very deep, so you know, to enhance the color of the stone, I guess, or increase the carat weight of the stone so they can charge you more. Oh, the tricks these guys pull. MTR 060 with a retail price of $15.88 and a wholesale price of $11.27. This is for an 8x10 millimeter oval. This would have... No, you wouldn't want to put a cabochon in there. Just, I mean, it might work, but it would look, well, maybe it'd look kind of cool. If you get it to sit down in there, you know, pretty far down in the thing, and you pulled all these prongs, these crown prongs over onto it, that might look very cool. And you could probably definitely get that locked in there pretty well. But this is designed for a cut stone, obviously, with the notches in the tops of the prongs where the crown is going to go, or the girdle, I should say, in this crown setting. They're just a very classic Tiffany kind of setting, right? I love the taper on this ring, very smooth. MTR 381 with a retail price of $17.60 and a wholesale price of $12.33. This is for a 6x9 oval. And this has kind of like, I don't know, a trio of circles, semicircles up at the shank, where the shank meets the seat, with a little cubic zirconia stabbed right in the middle of those. Those little flush mount cubic zirconias. That seat is ostensibly designed for a cabochon, right? The prongs are those pretty tall, medium tall prongs, flat on the inside, rounded on the outside. There's no notch, so that's how you can tell a prong that's designed for a cabochon. But I would not feel weird putting a cut stone in there as long as the culet didn't extend into the finger space. Anyway, that's just me. MTR 011 with a retail price of $16.50 and a wholesale price of $10.31. This is for a 7x8 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone, right? Good size basket, so cut stones work great in there. Lovely, very cool. I don't know, regal, elegant, Elizabethan maybe. Cool flourishes all the way around. You know, at first glance, it looks almost like there are cubic zirconias in there, but there are, or are there? I can't tell. I don't think there are. It looks like there are in the very top and the bottom, but I think those are just design elements. Very cool. If you can trick people to thinking you've got gemstones in your ring. MTR 221 with a retail price of $20.61 and a wholesale price of $14.26. This is for a 7x9 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. Anything will work in here. It's got that hybrid seat, so you know, designed for anything you want to put in there. I love these sort of vines with the texture on there. It's very organic, very cool. Interesting flourishes all the way around. Sits nice and high on the, you know, on the ring finger, on your finger. So that's definitely one of those, look at my cool stone, instead of look at a cool ring and, oh yeah, there's a stone in there too. Very nice, very elegant. MTR 415 with a retail price of $11.15 and a wholesale price of $7.44. This is for a 3x4 millimeter oval. And depending on the shape, you might be able to get away with a 3x5, although definitely take that as a grain of salt. It's got two cool little shapes in the top, almost like, I don't know, hearts with a spike through them. Maybe not. I'm sure that's not what they intended. It's just my morbid design sense sees that, right? Just two cute little elements on the side to hold that together. Little arrowheads pointing directly at the stone. So this is another, look at my stone. MTR 382 with a retail price of $19.28 and a wholesale price of $13.49. This is for an 8x10 millimeter oval. And this is just about as classic as you can get, just about as plain. And this, I think, is probably one of the most or the best selling rings for the people who are doing that commemorative jewelry, because I think 8x10 oval is one of the most common molds you can buy. So they cast their own cabochons, and then they just set them in here, and they look great. The prongs are the perfect size for those things, so you don't need to trim them down. It's just a very simple, classic split shank ring, right? Yeah, these sell a ton of these to those commemorative jewelry people. Although I think any 8x10 cab would look great in there. MTR 020 with a retail price of $15.01 and a wholesale price of $10.54. This is for a 6x8 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. I think that's a pretty good size basket for a 6x8 stone. Prongs are not super tall. They might be too tall if you have a cut stone that has a low pavilion that fits down in there. So you could just, snip those down a little bit, polish the ends, or, round off the ends, and then set them that way, push them down onto the thing. Right. Very simple split or taper on the end of the shank. Our next item, MTR 028 with a retail price of $22.21 and a wholesale price of $15.54. This is for an 11x13 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. The basket is not super deep, so you just might be careful if you have a cut stone in there. The culet doesn't extend into the finger space. Very classic, split shank with that kind of crossover, motif looking effect. And again, this is another one of those rings where the seat is kind of framed, by the ring, and there's a little bit of gap between the seat and the frame, so that once your stone is set in there, it'll look like it's sort of floating inside there, and the frame is held onto the ring only at the 4 points where the prongs are. Right. So very cool, very secure. Don't worry about that. MTR 425 with a retail price of $11.38 and a wholesale price of $7.59. This is for a 5x6 millimeter pear shaped stone. And again, the way we measure our pairs is against the widest point, right on the sides, from the side to side of the widest point, and from the bottom all the way up to the tip. And that's what that is. So this would be I'm going to say 5x6, so 5 millimeters wide by 6 millimeters tall. This has got the chevron in the point, right? So cabochons or cut stones will work in here. It's designed for a cut stone, right? For a cut pair, which is probably would be way more secure in this kind of a setting. With the chevron, you just have to be careful when you're pushing the chevron over that you don't accidentally crack the point of your pear-shaped stone. MTR 300 with a retail price of $17.74 and a wholesale price of $11.08. This is for a 9x12 millimeter oval. This ring is designed for a cabochon, for sure. Cut stone, that the ring, right, the frame, the underside of the bottom will definitely stop any pavilion, unless it's a super shallow cut stone, which I don't think it will work. You definitely would need to glue this in, right? I don't care how good your stone is, right? The cabochon fits in there beautifully, right? These prongs or these elements could push down onto the stone, but they wouldn't be able to secure them. You definitely need to glue that onto the frame. I think. But very cool, very elegant, very interesting, very simple. And you don't see many rings without, prongs for cabs. You have a couple of interesting hybrids, but that's about it. MTR 052 with a retail price of $20.44 and a wholesale price of $12.77. This is for a 6x8 millimeter oval. All right, cabochon or cut stone are put in this pretty deep basket, so I think the prongs are pretty small, so that's designed for a cut stone. I love that very cool sort of flourishes, right, in the shank, how it's kind of split and then, bent up and curled around with little granulation, points here and there. Very cool, very elegant. I'd put a cab in there as long as it's a low dome cab, right? And as long as it tapers all the way to the edge, you can definitely set them in these kind of a setting, and without it looking weird anyway. MTR 184 with a retail price of $28.08 and a wholesale price of $19.66. This is for a 10 by 10 millimeter cushion cut stone, right? Again, with this kind of a setting, definitely recommend that it be a cut stone and not a cabochon. If your cabochon is slightly domed in the bottom so that there's a little bit more security with the stone shifting, right? Or because you normally on cushion cut stones, it's rare to get a very, very pointy corner. And even if it is, boy, on a cabochon, I would worry about this being able to shift and push out if you accidentally, maybe if you punched somebody with with the ring on, or you accidentally knocked it against the table or something. Again, for a cut stone, you don't have to worry about that because most of the work holding the stone in the ring is done by the seat, and then the prongs just hold it down in place, right? So, having said that, this is just a gorgeous split shank ring with a nice deep basket, solid setting on the top, right? Love that. And you always need more cushion cut stones in the world. MTR 010 with a retail price of $17.52 and a wholesale price of $10.52. This is for an 8x9 millimeter oval. And this just has some kind of classic flourishes up at the top of the split shank, where the split shank meets the seat, right? Meets the setting. Not really a fleur-de-lis, but just cool flourishes. Very super. That it's got that hybrid seat, so you can put cabochons in there, you can put cut stones in there, whatever you want, it'll work. Again, unless it's a really, really crazy deep pavilion, which is always an issue, right? Here's another one that's kind of a spiritual cousin to that other oval setting, right? That's a glue-on with the two prongs, right? This is the same idea. Only this, you want to put a cut stone in there. And this has the two tabs on the side that the girdle, right, would sit right flush against there. I don't know if you can see those little notches here and there that you could kind of push these down onto. You wouldn't push these all the way down flat onto the stone because the stone would probably, shatter before you push that big, thick, heavy thing on there. Just very cool, nice, big, beefy ring shank without being crazy, without being too much. Super versatile. You could definitely probably also put a cabochon in there, although I would worry about it being a little bit less secure.
Hold on 1 sec.
Hold on.
Why is it so blurry on my screen? On this screen too. Do you see blurry?
Blurry? I don't see blurry. It looks good here. I don't know from here.
Oh, maybe it's the connection.
Is anybody else seeing blurry screen? Because this is super in focus here. I don't know. MTR 304 with a retail price of $27.59 and a wholesale price of $17.25. This is for a 7x9 millimeter oval. cabochon or cut stone. It's a nice deep basket, so cut stones are good here. I love that little quartet of cubic zirconias, right? Right where the shank meets the setting. It's got that cute halo again around the outside of the seat, and the seat is almost like floating, right? So if this is sitting on your finger, once you've got your stone in there, the stone looks like it's sort of floating inside that frame, and the frame is connected to the ring at the points of the prongs there. Is it good? Think? No? You're still blurred? Huh.
Might be the connection from Facebook.
Yeah, let's blame Facebook.
Yeah.
Throw Facebook under the bus. Right? How's this? Is this better? Closer? MTR 117 with a retail price of $15.38 and a wholesale price of $10.26. This is for a 4x6 millimeter oval, right? Very cool split shank. And this is just like a tinier version of one of the other one. I'm not gonna go looking for it and pull it out, or maybe I will. Maybe I will. I've already spent this much time doing it. Nope, I'm not going to. Nope. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Anyway, very cool triple split shank, right? In varying degrees. Gives you a very branchy sort of effect, and I don't know. I like the mirror image of that, right? So nice deep basket for cabochons or cut stones, whatever you want to put in there. That should work. Should work beautifully. We've got MTR 120 with a retail price of $13.31 and a wholesale price of $9.41. This is for a 6x7 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. Anything will fit in there. Again, very cool split shank effect in every direction with that little triangle, inside there. Triangle element inside that. And the little flourishes up at the top. So, I don't know, it almost looks like a bird to me. A cute little bird coming up on there. Again, did I say it's got that hybrid seat? So you can put whatever you want in there. Cabochons or cut stone. The prongs are not super tall. So, if it's a really crazy thick cabochon, it may not fit. But a regular, low dome cab will fit beautifully in here. Definitely make that work. Here's another ring where, let's see, MTR $3.95 with a retail price of $16.70 and a wholesale price of $11.69. 6.5 millimeter hexagon. I just I'm seeing WandaVision again all of a sudden. This has got these cubic zirconias in the band, right? Anybody who's watched the WandaVision will know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, why haven't you watched it? It's an amazing show. Anyway, neither here nor there. But this one, another one of those rings I wanted to talk about. People using it like that square ring. This one has a nice deep bezel with the the solid inside. And on this kind of a ring, you could definitely still use this for that thing. Just if you sealed up the back with some, electrical tape or, masking tape or whatever, something really good, right? And then filled that with the resin. And then once it was cured, if you just pull the tape off the back, you've got a nice, perfect cabochon that's already, oh, actually, now that I'm seeing, that is a little bit out of focus. Right? So the thickness of that bezel is probably about 1 millimeter or so. So it wouldn't take very much to fill that. I just love that super frame. Very cool frame. If you're a lapidary, of course, you would have to cut that and glue the stone in there. But again, just very cool with the trio of cubic zirconias in the sides. Here we have MTR 380 with a retail price of $14.66 and a wholesale price of $10.26. This is for a 4x4 millimeter square, or usually we would just call it 4 millimeter, but 4x4 millimeter square. Definitely you want to put a cut stone in there. Cabochon would work if the edges are very pointy, and you can get them in the notches in there and get that secure that way. Right, you can make that focus here. There we go. A very simple basket setting, kind of the classic basket setting, I guess, also. Lovely taper on that shank, very simple shank. Just, I don't know, simple, elegant. All those other words that we were coming up with earlier. What was the one? Regal. Wouldn't call that regal. It's just a square. MTR 220 with a retail price of $19.74 and a wholesale price of $13.49. This is for a 10 millimeter. Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, 10 millimeter round. It looks oval because of the cutaway here, right? You know, there's that optical illusion where the edges are not the same thickness, so it looks like it's oval, but it's not. It's definitely for a round, 10 millimeter round. This is almost like a pinch bail, so this is for a bead. You put a 10 millimeter bead in here, right? So this is slightly pulled open, so you can put the bead in one side against the one hole, shift that down, get the hole facing against the other side, and then pull these both in. And then probably it would spin too once that's in there. I don't know why I don't see a lot of these go out. I think people just don't realize how incredibly useful this is. Right? Especially if you're a glass bead maker, a lampwork maker, if you made some beads that are about 10 millimeters on the smallest mandrel you had, boy, that would work. That would be awesome. That would be a great way to sell your beads, right? Because, $19, if you have a lampwork bead that you've spent an hour working on, and you would charge like $50 or $60 for a crazy beautiful lampwork bead, you just put it on a ring, add $20 to the thing, and it would sell way quicker than it would just as a bead, right? Every lampworker knows that. Selling beads individually is very cool, but if you could just put it in a piece of jewelry, a simple piece of jewelry, it's like instant sale. That's why those it's like a bail with a screw thing and a post, and you could put the bead on the post and screw that down and just have it as like a pendant, right? I don't know if you've seen those. That's what people use for lamp work, beads, whatever. Anyway, very cool, very versatile little thing. Oh, I guess as long as it's 10 millimeter bead. I'm definitely should make one of those with a sample. MTR 421 with a retail price of $12.38 and a wholesale price of $8.25. This is for a 6x7 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone. Very cute. I don't know, little. I don't know what that little element is. Just very cute, very simple. Very plain, I guess. Yeah. Then our last ring of the day, MTR 464 with a retail price of $23. Hey, why is this going out of focus? $23.76 and a wholesale price of $14.85. This is for a 8x10 millimeter oval cabochon or cut stone will work in here. There's I love the row of cubic zirconias up the side, up to the basket, right, on both sides. And that this is definitely very traditional faux filigree sort of framework around that thing. The prongs are pretty good sized, not super tall, but not super short. So I can't imagine a cab not fitting in there unless it was a crazy thick cab. which you really wouldn't want for this kind of a ring anyway, because it's already pretty thick as far as the basket goes. So cabochons, cut stones, whatever you want to put in here would definitely work. I love these filigree sort of framework rings. And that's actually one of my favorites. That, again, very similar to this, although this stone is horizontal, and this one, the stone is vertical. There's no cubic zirconias in this one. And I'm a little more enamored of this kind of the crazy lace look of this, right? Sort of, random filigree shapes that aren't really random at all, right? Obviously, because they're all filled in. It's just very cool. And I don't know, somebody told me recently that, the stones that are parallel with the shank instead of perpendicular to the shank is becoming more and more popular. I don't know, I'm not a fan personally, but whatever works, I guess. So anyway, that's the last ring that I had scheduled for today, and 56 minutes. I did it in under an hour. I think it's a record. I think it's the first time I've ever managed to get in under an hour, which I'm going to try not to blah 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 to make it over an hour sort of thing, because people always try to get me rein me in, and it's a good thing to be reined in every once in a while. To be shown your place. Stop going crazy and stop blah 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 blah. I hope you saw something interesting. Maybe you picked up something science related that you didn't know about the jewelry, how they work, the technical aspects of it. Yeah. So that's it. Next week we'll be doing some more rings. I think we're done. We're pretty much done with all the what I call small rings. And when I say small rings, I mean rings for small ish stones. Everything we've done. I think the biggest one was like a 10 by 12, 8 by 10 maybe, oval. I think next week we're starting on the medium to bigger stones. So they'll be bigger, bigger stones. Some very cool, settings. And we haven't even got to, the pearls. Once we get to the pearl setting rings, boy, tons of those rings that are ostensibly designed for pearl settings you can use for that epoxy resin, work that I think. I feel like I'm obsessed with epoxy resin all of a sudden. I don't know why. It's just a very cool product, a very cool thing. And just, the more and more I see people using it in very cool ways, the more excited I am by it. We have quite a few pendant settings that are ostensibly designed for people if you're doing like intarsia work, if you're a lapidary and you have sort of free form shapes that you can cut the stones into. We got like a dragonfly. I should have one out. I think we have like a dragonfly pendant where inside the wings and the body there are all different shapes that are cloisoned off, and when I saw that, immediately my mind went, oh yeah, this is definitely one of those epoxy resin, pieces. And the more and more we get of those kind of things, the more interesting I think it is. Anyway, neither here. I'm blabbering now. Thank you for joining us. We will be back again next week, next Wednesday morning, 10:30 Pacific time. You can extrapolate that out to wherever you are. So that's like 1:30 on the East Coast, right? 10:30, 11, yeah. I can do the math in my head. Or wherever you are in the world if you're watching this, or whenever you're watching this, in the middle of the night on YouTube after it's been posted. I keep forgetting to ask. This does get posted to YouTube eventually, right? Yes. Okay. So if you're not watching this on Facebook as it's live, or later on Facebook, this is also posted on YouTube. But in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health. Keep making stuff, keep working, keep creating. The more you work creating stuff, the more the creative juices will flow. I know it's difficult when there's so much angst in the world, so much existential dread. But, we are blessed to be in a business where ultimately everybody's just happy making stuff. You know, there's nothing more rewarding than taking things that are not complete and putting them together and making something complete and giving that to somebody. And you can say, I made this, right? It's just awesome. So with that in mind, have a great week, and we will see you next week. Bye.